In the 8th year after the foundation of this convent, in the 25th of my life, obedience imposed upon me the office which I unworthily hold at the present day, namely, to be the abbess of this convent. I found myself much troubled, sorrowful, and discouraged, because neither my age nor my inclinations were such as are requisite for governing and commanding, but they were rather such as befitted one who should be governed and obey. I knew also that in order to invest me with this office a dispensation had been obtained. On account of these and other just reasons, the terrors with which the Most High has crucified me during all my life were much augmented. In addition thereto, God left me in dreadful doubt whether I was on the secure path, or whether I should obtain or lose his friendship and grace. In this tribulation I cried to the Lord with all my heart, that he help me, and if it be his will, that I should be freed from this danger and burden. Although it is true that the Lord had prepared me some time beforehand, and commanded me to accept the office, and although when I tried to excuse myself on account of my pusillanimity, he always consoled me and reiterated his command, I nevertheless did not cease my petitions, but rather augmented them. For I perceived and understood in the Lord that, although he showed this to be his holy will, which I could not hinder, yet I was aware at the same time that he left me free to retire and resist, and, if I wished, to act according to my weakness as a creature and in the consciousness of my total insufficiency. Such is the prudence of the Lord in his dealings with men. Relying on this kindness of the Lord, I increased my efforts to be relieved from this evident danger, which is so little estimated by our human nature with its bad habits and disorderly passions. The Lord, however, repeated continually that it was his will, and he consoled me, admonishing me through his holy angels to obey. I fled in this affliction to our Queen and Lady, as to my only refuge in all troubles, and after I had manifested to her my way of life and my desires, she deigned to answer me in these sweetest of words. My daughter, console thyself, and do not be disturbed in thy heart on account of this labor. Prepare thyself for it, and I will be thy mother and superior, whom thou shalt obey, and the same I will be to thy subjects. I will supplement thy deficiencies, and thou shalt be my agent, through whom the will of my Son and my God shall be fulfilled. In all thy temptations and troubles, thou shalt take refuge with me, confer about them with me, and take the advice which I will give thee in all things. Obey me, and I will favor thee and will continue to be attentive to thy affliction. These were the words of the Queen, as consoling as they were soothing to my soul. From that day on, the Mother of Mercy multiplied her mercies toward me, her slave, for she became more intimate with me and continued her intercourse with my soul, receiving me, listening to me, teaching me with ineffable condescension, giving me counsel and encouragement in my affliction, filling my soul with the light and knowledge of eternal life, and commanding me to renew the vows of my profession in her presence. Finally, this, our most amiable mother and lady, revealed herself still more fully to her slave, withdrawing the veil from the hidden sacraments and magnificent mysteries which are contained, though unknown to mortals, in her most holy life. And, although this blessed and supernatural light was uninterrupted, and especially clear on her festival days, and on other occasions when I was instructed in many mysteries, yet it was not so full, frequent, and clear as that which was afterwards vouchsafed to me when she added the command that I write the history of her life according as Her Majesty herself would dictate and inspire me. Particularly on one of these festivals of the Most Holy Mary, the Most High informed me that he had in reserve many hidden sacraments and blessings, which he had conferred upon this his heavenly mother in the days of her pilgrimage, and that it was his intention to manifest them to me, in order that I might write them down according to her guidance. This will of the Most High, though I resisted it, was continually present in my mind for the space of 10 years, until I attempted the first writing of this divine history. Consulting about my doubts with the holy princes and angels, whom the Most High had appointed to direct this work of writing the history of our Queen, and manifesting to them how great was my disturbance and affliction of heart, and how stuttering and mute was my tongue for such an arduous task, they replied over and over again that it was the will of the Most High that I write the life of his most pure mother and our mistress. On one day especially, when I made many objections and declared to them my difficulties and my incapability and great fears, they spoke to me these words: "With good reason thou fearest and art disturbed, O soul, doubtest and hesitatest in a matter where we angels ourselves would do the same, as considering ourselves unable worthily to describe the high and magnificent doings of the Omnipotent in the Mother of Piety and our Queen. But remember, dearest soul, that the firmament, the whole machinery of the world, and all things created will sooner fail than the words of the Most High. Many times he has promised to his creatures, and in the Holy Scriptures it is recorded, that the obedient man shall speak of victories over his enemies, and shall not be reprehensible in obeying. And when he created the first man, and gave him the command not to eat of the tree of knowledge, he established the virtue of obedience, and swearing he swore, in order to give greater assurance to man. For the Lord has repeatedly given such an oath. For instance, when he promised to Abraham that the Messiah should descend from his race, he added thereto the assurance of an oath. The same he did when he created the first man, assuring him that the obedient shall not err. He also repeated this oath when he ordained that his most holy Son should die, and he gave a like assurance to men that they, who should obey this second Adam, imitating him in the obedience by which he restored what the first lost through his disobedience, shall live forever, and that the enemy shall have no part in them. Remember, Mary, that all obedience takes its rise from God as from its first and principal source, and we angels obey the power of his divine right hand and his most just will. We cannot contravene or ignore it, because we see the immutable being of God face to face, and we perceive that his will is holy, pure, and true, most equitable and just. Now this certainty, which we angels possess through the beatific vision, you mortals also possess in its proper proportion, as wayfarers through the words of the Lord concerning your prelates and superiors. He who hears you hears me, and who obeys you obeys me. Now since obedience is rendered on account of God, who is the principal cause and who is the superior of all, it is befitting to his almighty providence that he take the consequences of obedience, whenever that which is commanded is not in itself sinful. Accordingly, the Lord assures us of these things by an oath, and he will sooner cease to exist, though this is impossible, than that he will fail in his word. In the same way as the children proceed from their parents, and all the living from Adam multiplied from his natural being in his posterity, so also all superiors are constituted by God as by the Supreme Lord, on whose account we yield obedience to them. Human beings to their living superiors, we angels to our higher hierarchies of the same nature, and all beings together in their superiors obey the eternal God. Remember now that all of these have directed and commanded thee to do that about which thou still hesitatest. If thou now shouldst begin to write by mistake, intending thereby to fulfill his commands in obedience, then the Most High would do with thy pen the same as he did with the knife of Abraham when he was about to sacrifice his son Isaac. For on that occasion the Lord commanded one of us angels to withhold the arm and the knife. He did not thus command us to withhold thy pen, but has ordered us with lightest breath to speed it on, and while gazing on his majesty, to direct and assist thee by illuminating thy intellect.